Firstly, I wish to make it absolutely clear that the murders that took place last week in Paris at and around the offices of the magazine Charlie Hebdo were a dreadful crime that has no justification under Islamic law or any other legal system. It is also clear that the justification apparently adduced by the perpetrators, that of taking revenge for insults against the Prophet Muhammad, has actually backfired exponentially. And far more exposure has been given to the offensive cartoons and damage done to the reputation of Islam than would have been the case had they not acted as they did. What they did not do, however, was attack freedom of expression and the values of the West in the way that has been almost hysterically proclaimed by so many and produced this extreme outpouring of popular sentiment fanned by the media and espoused by countless ordinary people. The millions of people who've taken to the streets after the brutal attack on the offices of Charlie Hebdo with their Je suis Charlie placards have in reality not done so to defend freedom of expression as such, but to defend the right of the cartoonists of that publication to be outrageously and gratuitously abusive. Indeed, one of the magazine's cartoonists, who was not there on that terribly ill-fated day, said that he found the public outcry extraordinarily hypocritical, and that many of the establishment figures making such a show of support for Charlie Hebdo on the streets of Paris, in fact, hated the magazine, and had been doing what they could to get it shut down only the week before. The words freedom of expression are blazoned forth time and time again on these occasions, as if they represented some absolute, inalienable right. Actually, of course, what a person can say all right is already considerably restricted by law in a multitude of ways. Many different kinds of expression are criminal offences, subject to heavy legal penalties. Overt expressions of racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism are already banned by law in most countries. Internationally, hate speech is against the law, and it is defined as what attacks a person or group on the basis of attributes such as gender, ethnic origin, religion, race, disability, or sexual orientation. The definition continues by saying that it is any speech, gesture, or conduct, writing, or display which is forbidden, because it may incite violence or prejudicial action against or by a protected individual or group, or because it disparages or intimidates a particular individual or group. This has been used in several countries, for instance, to make it a criminal offense to deny the Holocaust, and in Germany, to make it a crime to call certain ethnic groups maggots or freeloaders. The point I'm getting at here is that any expression that actually incites violence against others is and should be against the law. In this case, the pretext adduced by the perpetrators of these murders was some cartoons published in the magazine that defamed the Prophet Muhammad. This is extremely important to understand. A very specific thing is involved here. Muslims do not react this way in response to general criticism of their religion or of themselves, or indeed in response to abuse of any other individual Muslim. It is only when the Prophet Muhammad himself is abused that you see a reaction of the kind generated on this occasion. I am not saying that this in any way justifies the crime that took place. In fact, as I said at the beginning, it is categorically against Islamic law to act in the way these criminals did. However, what must be realized by non-Muslim lawmakers is that this very specific thing, disparagement of the Prophet Muhammad, is something that always and inevitably provokes a violent reaction in a large number of Muslims throughout the world. Surely there have been enough precedents by now. The Rushdie affair, the international furore around the Danish cartoons, and several other similar incidents. There are a number of reasons for this, both historical and owing to misinterpretation of Islamic law on the subject. But no purpose will be served by going into them here. The point is that it always and inevitably provokes a violent reaction on the part of many Muslims. Again, I repeat, this is not about general criticism or disparagement of Muslims or Islam. Most Muslims have become very used to that, and, for the most part, well able to hold their own in the face of it, and certainly not liable to react violently against it. What is at stake here is the very specific matter of direct disparagement of the Prophet Muhammad, nothing else. On this occasion, it provided a false pretext for this savage attack, just as previously it has instigated murder and mayhem in other parts of the world. What I'm saying is that the specific act of abusing the Prophet Muhammad should be made a crime because it definitely and inevitably, in the words of the previous quoted legal statute, incites violence or prejudicial action against or by a protected individual or group. This is in no way at all any kind of threat to people's general right to freedom of expression, nor is it in any way an attack on the much vaunted values of the West or human rights. On the contrary, it will remove an important weapon from the arsenal of the Islamic extremists and hamper right-wing extremists from fomenting the out-and-out polarization of Western society they so much desire.